The meeting's now live on YouTube, Chair.
Thank you, Tracy. Good evening, members and officer colleagues, and welcome to the February meeting of the West Northamptonshire Shadow Executive. We have quite a heavy agenda. I hope we can get through it with a reasonable amount of efficiency. And we'll go straight into apologies for non-attendance. Alex.
We have none, Chair.
Thank you, Tracy. Any notifications to address the meeting? Okay, fine. Any declarations of interest from members or officers? The minutes of the previous meeting have been circulated. I'm just trying to find them. I printed them off and have them ready for signing and posting back. So is there anything on the, well, the first bit that begins item non-attendance. Next page that starts 5 announcements, there were none. Next page that starts Councillor Bowen also queried whether the disaggregation team, etc. Anything on that page? Next page starts resolved that the Shadow Executive noted the high level programme delivery status, etc. Anything on that page? And the next page, having considered the consultation process and ongoing economic impact. Anything there? And the report seeks to the approval that page. Anything on that from an accuracy point of view? And the final page just starts urgent items. So is it your wish that I sign these as a true and correct record? Are we agreed?
Agreed.
They're done. I shall sign that later. I'll get them posted back to Angel Square. Is that okay, or do they need to go back to the Guildhall?
Angel Square,
Pardon?
please.
Angel Square. Okay. So I have no announcements at this stage. So I shall move on to Director of Transformations Programme Update, page 13 of the main agenda. Jane.
Thank you, Chair. In the interest of the fact we've got a packed agenda, I'm going to power through this and just feel free to shout me with any questions because I'm reading it, I can't see the screen. So just to draw your attention in risk terms to the programme status, with adults, the main risk is around eclipse, but Anna's going to do a piece on that later, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that. The other risks you've seen previously. With children's, again, you've seen that risk previously, so we've already discussed it. With corporate, there is an issue which I'll just pull out a bit later in the critical deliverables around interim arrangements, schedules or inter-authority agreements that at the moment we will have to prioritise the ones that we need to do. So there is a risk around those of some elements of data sharing not being as they should be, but we will make sure that we have mitigations in place to cover any of those where data can be seen by both the North and the West where it shouldn't be. And just moving down to customer contact and digital is all green. As you can see in ICT terms, there is a number of risks that have emerged. That's not unusual for a programme of this size at this stage. So the main risks to be aware of, there are some devices that are outdated, which are being worked through at the moment. A number of those will be replaced across the West and the North by the end of March in the main areas where they need to be. So those will be worked through to as quickly as we can. The other area is MS365. There was a delay on the NCC implementation. However, that's now being worked through in batches, and we are ensuring that we get to everybody as quickly as possible to get them on Teams. It's likely to be finished by mid-March, but a number of people have already moved over and that programme will continue. So the other area where there is a potential new risk as well is around specialist skills and expertise that we need to finish the programme. We've mitigated that through a framework agreement which is now in place, and the ICT program workstream is able to access the additional skills it needs through that to make sure that we have everything to get us through to day one and just beyond that as well. Okay. In finance terms, you've seen all of those risks previously, so hopefully there's nothing new there. If you have any questions, of course, we can answer those. And Place West, most of that has gone to green now. Whilst it's showing as amber going forward, I think it's probably actually nearer a green, because in the main, all of the things to do with Place that potentially are amber are in the corporate or the ICT program, and they are on track for where they should be. The only new one is around Jigsaw, and we've agreed at the board today, the Place board today, that there is a workaround that can start from day one to be implemented without needing ICT capacity at that point. So that's been mitigated already today. So just moving on, Chair, if there's no questions, I'll just move quickly onto the finance.
Well, just
Okay.
hold fire there. Are there any questions on the programme update? No. So the finance here, just again, so we're clear, is the finance of the programme. It's not getting into the budget item, which is the next item to come on to. So this is just the financing of the programme to date. The
programme budget, yeah. Just very quickly, there's very little movement in this, and what movement there is to the positive. So there isn't too much to say. The figures are there for everybody, to see. If there's any questions on that, happy to answer them, but there is not much movement from last time. The programme budget is on track. Some of the savings which we've discussed in previous months have moved into other years, but Martin and Audra have explained those in previous months. So there's nothing different to what you've seen before. So again, if there's no questions, I'm happy to move on. Let me know.
Are there any questions? I thought at the last meeting this was reviewed earlier in the week, we said that the programme budget was actually underspent. Is that not what Martin said?
I'll let Martin come in.
But the savings target had been, as we've said on many occasions now, that some of the savings will be realised later because of the COVID-19 effect.
Yes, on the expenditure side of things, Chair, it's 271,000 under on the expenditure side of things. On the delivery of the savings, it's behind by 1.1 million, which we've reported previously. But it's not that those savings won't be achieved. It's just that they'll be profiled differently and delivered in future years.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, Chair.
Any questions? All right, Jane, keep going.
Okay, so below that is the risks that are changing this time. In each box, you'll have seen that the reasons for change will either be for closure or changing mitigation. So all of those have been updated. And just moving down, then we're into the critical products. So this is where we pull out for you anything that we are particularly concerned about in terms of critical delivery. As you can see, the main items on there is the disaggregation of the NCC systems in terms of data protection and GDPR breaches. So both the monitoring officers are involved heavily in the conversation and are talking to the ICO. As we know, not all systems can be split by day one. And what that means is potentially people from the north and people from the west can see either side. The ICO conversation so far has been that it's no different from what we have now. So actually it's not an expanding risk. It just means that they are fully aware of the situation, and we will put mitigations in place and also ensure that staff are clear on what they can and can't access to make sure that that's as it should be from day one. And then we'll be working to split the systems as quickly as we possibly can following on from that. The other critical product is the authority and hosted service agreements. We needed further legal capacity, which we've brought in, but we still may not have all of them in place for day one. What that means, again, is that we're going to work through and prioritise the larger ones, or the ones that are most risk because they're most complicated, and do the ones that are probably just 2 or 3 people further behind from that. Most of the services are not changing on day one anyway, so even if they've been disaggregated, they aren't completely separated yet until we've worked through. Where it's possible, it's been done, but where it's not, obviously there will still be work to do on the other side in transformation. And then you've just got a couple there where implementation should have started, that's not. The advisory traded service is only just endorsed, but that's moving forward now. And Opus is currently going through the governance with an imminent commencement. So it is on track now from where it should be from now, but it was a risk that we wanted to bring to your attention. So again, if there's any questions on that. No. Okay, happy for me to continue. Okay, and just in terms, we changed the graph slightly this time based on feedback from members. So that just shows you basically the greens are all on track. The ambers are ones that we've got to watch on. There are a couple of reds in corporate, which is the ones I've referred to already, where we know that we're not likely to be able to complete them for day one, but I've explained to you the mitigations in that. So hopefully that explains to you the reasoning why. And then you have the table that we've been doing for you in achievements, opportunities, risks and issues. All of the risks you've seen before, the opportunities are what we're going to be working on and adding into the transformation timeline as we're working through the next stage. Achievements are all the things that we've got through. So basically there's some good achievements in there, and the issues are the ones that have already been highlighted to you as well. So that's all I was going to say, Chair. If there's any further questions, happy to take them. Sorry, Chair, I think you're on mute.
Thank you. I don't see any electronic hands up, and I don't see anyone waving at me either to indicate. Okay. There's nothing further on this one. There are no recommendations on the report. So thank you, James. Thank you to all the team who are pedaling like mad now in order to get there with about, was it 7 weeks yesterday, I think, is go live day. So yeah, we really are now in the home straight. So it's a sprint after a marathon, I heard someone say the other day. So I think that's the problem. So we just have to keep pedaling along. So thank you, Jane, and please pass the thanks of the Shadow Executive to all of the team who are working to achieve a smooth go live on the 1st of April.
I will do, Chair. Thank you. They'll appreciate that.
So item 7, our final budget and medium-term final financial strategy. Rebecca.
Thank you, Chair. I'm very mindful that it's 6:15 on a Friday night, and the executive are all familiar with the proposals in the budget report. So I'm going to be fairly brief. So this is the first budget and medium-term financial plan for the new council, and has been prepared under the most challenging of circumstances. And given the background, we're delivering a realistic and balanced budget that protects and maintains existing service levels. It provides services that will be efficient and cost effective, and provides a base from which further transformation can take place. So in the 6 weeks since the draft budget was presented to the executive, there have been some technical changes to the budget. These are listed at Appendix C. However, the net position hasn't changed. So core council tax has been proposed at 1.99% in line with government thresholds, and we're also proposing the additional 3% adult social care precept. We've listened to the responses from the consultation that have taken place and have proposed a reduction in the maximum bill paid by our low-income households from 26.5% to 20%. For most of the qualifying household claimants in the West, this will be a reduction of up to 33% in their annual bills. So that's around £5 a week is a significant sum. However, we are aware that there are still households suffering considerable hardship. And so I'm pleased to announce that an additional recommendation is being made by me, and that is that a discretionary council tax hardship fund is set up, amounting to some £425,000 that our residents will be able to apply to in 21-22. I've got one further recommendation to make, and it reflects all councillors' roles as corporate parents. Enabling our care leavers to thrive after leaving care and to ease their journey, I'd like to recommend a care leaver support package that will provide additional council tax support and after other discounts have been applied to our cared for children living independent lives post 18 and up to the age of 25. This will be implemented in 21-22, and I hope will become part of the base budget funded from revenue beyond. So in conclusion, Chair, I propose the recommendations on page 4 of the report, that the Shadow Executive recommends the Shadow Budget, including the additional items listed at A, the further recommendations at B, notes the points made from C through to H, and my 2 additional recommendations. First, the setting up of a discretionary council tax hardship fund of 425,000 for 21-22. And then second, the establishment of a care leavers council tax support package of £75,000 starting in 21-22 and to be part of the base budget beyond. It is recommended that these two additional proposals totaling £500,000 will be funded from general fund reserves from 21-22. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Rebecca. Matt? And then Adam.
I think Adam was first, but I'll go first.
Apologies.
Yeah. Do you want to go, Adam?
Go on, Adam. Yeah, you're right. Actually, this list
both.
orders them. You're quite right. This list does order them in strict. Actually, we'll go with Adam first and then Matt.
Thank you, Chairman. Firstly, I'd like to give my thanks to Rebecca and to all of the officers who have put so much hard work into this budget. It's been a mammoth feat, especially in these challenging times. But I'd most of all like to highlight two really, really important principles that underpin this budget. Firstly, the notion of fiscal responsibility, setting a realistic and balanced budget. It's going to be so fundamental to how we head into the new start that's ahead of us in West Northamptonshire, making sure that we get the job done in terms of delivering services and delivering them on budget and on time. And this budget, I believe, does that. And secondly, it's also a budget that, as Rebecca's just outlined, with the two additional measures, seeks to help those who need our help most. And that's going to be another really fundamental principle that we need to deliver to West Northamptonshire residents in the years to come. Those who can least afford to pay full council tax and who need the council to stand behind them and offer support will have our support. And I hope that will gain universal approval from both Conservative councillors and those from other parties. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Adam. Matt?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to pretty much say the same as Adam and recognise the amount of work that's gone into this. You know, we've used these athletic metaphors that this is another marathon, and it's been a huge, huge task to put something together, given the circumstances that everybody's been working under. So it's a big well done to Martin and Rebecca and the team to get this before us without, having to put a lot of difficult decisions on the table. And when you look at some of the other issues some other councils are facing up and down the country, it is sort of testament to the hard work that all of us in our different authorities have put in over the last couple of years to get to a place where we don't have to, frankly, make some of those real difficult decisions. And, this is the marathon. We've got the sprint, and I think we're going to have another marathon as soon as we get to April the 1st on preparing next year's budget and of course, delivering this one as well. But I certainly would welcome those extra recommendations Rebecca has suggested, including the care leaver part. That's something that's coming from where we've been at NCC is very much welcome. But again, just to say what a great job that we've had with the team have done to deliver this, and now the hard work begins to to make sure it comes in next year on budget, and then of course set the next year's budget. So well done to everybody. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Adam. Fiona? Sorry, Matt. Fiona?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to, like everyone, thank everybody who's worked so hard on bringing this budget forward. It is a mammoth task, starting from fresh and not really knowing what's going to happen. So thank you very much for all your efforts there. And thank you very much, because I'd like to just point out that this council is starting how it meant to go on in giving the care leavers package. I don't know, some of you may remember that I did write to everybody 2.5 years ago about the council tax. And I was told at the time that would be something that we could look at when we became unitary. And I'm really pleased to say that now you've looked at it, and really grateful that you are actually putting that in place. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Rebecca, do you want to come back? I think you put yourself on mute. Try and take yourself off it.
Yes. just picking up Fiona's point, I'd also like to thank actually the Police and Crime Commissioner, because they've come on board on the care leavers. They were part of the consultee, and they have agreed to contribute their share, which I think is much appreciated, and recognises the cross service work that needs to go on. And I have to say that working with Martin and his team, actually, it's a joy. It makes my job so much easier working with such a really good finance team. And so I'd like to just record my thanks to Martin and his crew.
Well, I wish to as well, but of course, modesty prevents anyone thanking Rebecca acknowledging her own part in putting together the budget. And I wish to thank you, Rebecca, on behalf of all of us on the Shadow Executive, for all of the work that you've put in on behalf of us all to get us to this point. But also, let's not forget Lizzie and the disaggregation ones. The who's going to get the cutlery and who's going to get the crockery bit always has to be done as well. And I think we're still arguing over who's having the dog, but the main bit of getting that split and that which has the potential to go catastrophically wrong. We've navigated ourselves, I think, through many potentially choppy waters quite skillfully, and I do want to place on record my thanks to all of those who've taken part in doing that. I also think it is a really great sign that we've been able, despite everything, to help those on the lowest incomes. And many can throw around all the mud they like around Conservatives this and Conservatives that. But when it comes to it, it is this Conservative administration for this new shadow authority that is actually saying to those on the lowest incomes across West Northamptonshire, 80% of you will be no worse off or better off. And for those who find themselves in having the greatest ask on them, we will try and put a safety net in place in the form of a hardship fund. And I think we should all rightly take great pride in doing that. And the care leavers, you're absolutely right. If there was ever something that we could say when people say, well, what's the benefit of the unitary? It was always this. So when you wrote, Fiona, to us, the problem was that the districts could potentially end up offering a discount, but could also potentially end up having to fund all of the discount. And it's much easier to get two people in the room, i.e. the council and the Police and Crime Commissioner, who have to agree this, than it is to get numerous people in the room who all have to agree to it. So it's also a sign of the improving condition of the finances at the county council. The repair job is broadly done. That we can now afford to again look after those in the care of the council and do it better. So I think we're sending a great signal to everybody in West Northants that this new council is going to tackle some of these long-standing thorny issues and is going to do things differently, and actions certainly speak louder than words. And our actions is we have done more than what we said we were going to do. We have delivered, and I know we've had questions about didn't we not lack some ambition, but I think we're showing here we've had a great ambition despite the circumstances, despite the background that we found ourselves in, and we're doing things for those people at the bottom of the pile. And I certainly hope that everybody recognises that going forward. But once again, thank you to Rebecca and Martin and all of Martin's team, because I know he has a complete internal factory. Belinda and numerous other people, she's on the call, but there's numerous other people in Martin's internal factory that produce reams of reports with great detail and great clarity. So thank you one and all. And I don't know if there's any other speakers on this one. Martin, do you wish to say anything?
Nothing to add, Chairman, but just to say thanks very much, and I will pass those positive comments back to the team, because that has been a real team effort. So thank you, Chair.
So Rebecca has moved the recommendations. They are on page 23 and 24 of the main pack. Or is that the book? Yeah, that's the. Sorry, no, that's the HRA one. They're on the separate pack. So I don't intend to read these because there's a couple of pages of them. Yeah, there's a couple of pages of them. But we recommend the Shadow Authority to set the budget as set out in the report, to make the additional recommendations. There's flexibility, and the delegations are set out in point B 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Part C notes the estimated tax base to be 137,520. Part D notes the S25 statement, which is probably quite important. Martin says it's legal. On paragraphs 18.1 to 18.10. And E notes the approach to fees and charges as set out in section 11 and appendix F. And F notes the provisional allocations and planned use of the dedicated schools grant. And G notes the consultation feedback on the budget as set out in appendix 1. And H notes the feedback from the overall overview and scrutiny committee in appendix J. And again, we should add our thanks to them for their comments. So Rebecca has proposed the recommendations. Sorry, Martin's waving at me. What have I done wrong?
And Chair, just the two additional recommendations that were put forward. The hardship fund of 425,000, the care leavers fund of 75,000, and to fund those through general fund balances for 2021-22.
Thank you. So that's H, I, and J. So that'll be a recommendation I and a recommendation J. So are we all agreed to take that on block? Those in favour?
Agreed.
Any against? That is passed. So we will make that recommendation to the full Shadow Authority meeting on the 23rd of February. Thank you. So the other part of the budget then is the housing revenue account. Item 8. Pardon? Oh, right. Yeah, sorry, Councillor Breeze, do you want to deal with those questions?
Yes, because sorry, if you could just bear with me, I just need to organize, find them on my screen. So yes, I've got them. So shall I read the questions out and then my response?
Yeah.
I don't think other members will necessarily have had access to the questions.
Can we share them on the screen?
Yeah, that would be good. Thank you.
Can I share? Have I got screen sharing right? Hang on. Can people see that? Maybe not. Sorry, I'm. No, I can't get it.
It was there a second ago, I think, Ian.
Yes, it was on screen.
Yeah. Chat saying it was an accountant.
Very small.
Yeah, no, that's. I think it's too small. Okay, well, Rebecca, we'll just have to.
I have to read them.
Yeah.
Sorry, you'll have to bear with me. They're not too long. So the first question is: the budget made available to public only had very broad headings and was difficult to understand. I am an accountant and struggled, so I don't know what people who don't have a financial background would have made of it. I think my response is this is an observation from a member of the public. This is Mr. Knapp, I believe. And my response is to thanks for that observation. there's a lot of work. Oh, thank you. I've just got to get my screen back now. There's a lot of work and an enormous amount of detail involved in the budget, and most local government finance is a complete mystery to the public and to a lot of members, actually. And this council's done its best to strike a balance, and what people make of it, that's up to them. Certainly my husband, who is trained as an accountant, finds it very difficult, but I don't, so I'm not an accountant. Second question. The shadow executive seems to be very proud that they have put forward a balanced budget, but this is the legal minimum required. Do the residents of West Northamptonshire, who have suffered for many years of mismanagement of the county council, not deserve a budget with more aspirations for improvement? Well, I'd say that under the Conservative council that was elected in 2017, and particularly the new executive team, the finances of NCC have been utterly transformed. They're now a solvent council who've been able to rebuild a level of resources and embark on an ambitious program of transformation, which is already delivering results and will continue to do so in the new council. I think that we've been able to deliver a balanced budget while not reducing services, battling the impact that COVID has had on service delivery and on our demand level-led services, and to create the platform from a strong and ambitious council is something to be really proud of. It was reported in the press this week that a number of English councils are known to be in severe financial stress after their budgets have been decimated by the pandemic. We've been able to propose a budget that does not propose the reduction of any service. We do have an aspiration for improvement, and this and the solid management of our financial resources will be my ambition for the new Northamptonshire Council. So, and the third question is, the budget consultation was on very limited items on the budget, and the answers you could give were very limited. Do you really want any constructive feedback from stakeholders, or was it just a box ticking exercise? And my response is that, as set out in the final budget report, there were 457 responses on the consultation. The exercise asked a number of questions in key areas, and also people could leave their comments that they wish to make. There were not lots of questions on service proposals because services haven't been reduced, they've been protected in this budget. And it's worth highlighting that the majority of questions the respondents gave details to were supportive of the proposals contained within the budget report. So that's the end of the questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Rebecca. Yeah, we probably just need to get that as an agenda item to make sure they get picked up. So we have approved the budget and taken on board many of those things, and I do think our ambition can be proved by being able to do things that have been in the too difficult to handle box for quite a number of years, like setting up a care leavers package. So we move on to the housing revenue account, item 8.
Thank you, Chair. Again, the executive's familiar.
You put yourself on mute there, Rebecca.
Thanks, Chair. Again, the executive is familiar with the HRA budget and the contents of this report. I'd like the executive to agree the recommendations at 2.1 on page 1 of the HRA report and the agenda pack regarding rent and service charges, and also to note the ambitious capital investment programme for refurbishment and building of new social housing, and the further recommendations from 2.2 to 2.6. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any questions? Any comments? Lizzie?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Rebecca. This comes under my remit at the moment. What I'd like to say is there is an ambitious programme, an incredibly ambitious programme for building to support this, and I'm really delighted that we've managed to put this into the budget, and it is ambitious. and will serve our West Northamptonshire Unitary Authority incredibly well moving forward. So I'd really like to endorse this budget. Thank you.
Thank you. I certainly think it's another, for those that are worried about our limited ambition, have a look at that HRA budget. £1 million a week we intend to be spending, more or less, in the first 4 years, for the full life of the first term of this new council, on improving or expanding council house provision. So again, I would like to know what the lack of ambition is within that, and there's certainly then a huge opportunity to expand out the work of, and I see Jonathan has come in, the work of Northampton Partnership Homes, in order to extend their remit now right across the new geography. Jonathan, you know a lot more about this than me.
Well, thank you, Ed. Probably just to echo your comments, really, I was simply going to say you're absolutely right. Tremendous ambition. This is the greatest social housing programme that has been embarked in for generations, or certainly for decades, in Northampton. Having built 8 houses in, I think, 20 years, the Borough Council has significantly done more. There are over 200 built, and around about 500 to 600 currently going through contracting. And it's a source of great pride for me that the West Northants Shadow Authority, and moving into the budget of the West Northants Council, has grasped that opportunity, is driving ahead. I think that's absolutely fantastic ambition. Yes, indeed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anything else on this one? Oh, I see. So I don't see any other hands indicating. So we have the recommendations. One, around rent increase maximum of 1.5%. 2, the HRA budget of 54.7 million expenditure as detailed in Appendix 1. 3, the HRA capital programme. 4, the proposed service changes listed in Appendix 3. 5, the Shadow Executive be authorised, once the capital programme has been set, to approve new capital schemes, etc. And 6, the total fees for Northampton Partnership Homes for their services as detailed in Appendix 4. Then item B, the Shadow Executive acknowledges the issues and risks in the Chief Finance Officer's statement. C, the Council be recommended to confirm the reserve strategy. D, the authority be delegated to the Chief Finance Officer to make any technical changes prior to the Council meeting. And E, the Council be recommended to delegate to the Chief Executive and Chief Finance Officer to implement the retained HRA budget and restructures. And F, that further delegations to the Chief Finance Officer in consultation with the portfolio holder for finance and the head of service about transferring monies as listed. That's the lot. So are we all in favour? Are there any against? That is carried. Thank you. So we move on to item 9, Eclipse. Is Anna going to introduce this, or is it going to be introduced by?
Yes, I was chair, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I was happy to make some
All right.
comments if you want.
Sorry, Matt. Right, you start and.
Okay, I've made some notes, and I'm sure Anna can put me right at the end. Okay, so the Eclipse contract and budget changes. So, colleagues, we've been, again, as already been mentioned, we've been tracking the situation with the transfer to the Eclipse case management system across children and adults for some time now in the implementation board. So I will be brief. The purpose of the report before us today is to set out the rationale for contractual and budget changes to the Eclipse system project within the Adults Transformation Programme. The planned rollout and cost of the Eclipse system across children's and adults has been impacted by COVID, including delays to the go live of the Children's Trust and a change to the Eclipse roadmap. These have resulted in the rephasing of the plans and resources required, and has resulted in the need to review the plans, solutions and timing of the project. The Eclipse system has already gone live in NAS, which is the Northamptonshire Adult Social Services, and went live in early December and is now stabilising. And the next key project areas are the vesting day readiness, of course, by the 31st of March 21, the children's social care implementation and the finance implementation for both adults and social care with a current go live date of April 22. The report goes on to describe the issues that have been encountered, including the challenges of splitting West and North, and there is a comprehensive financial summary within the report and attached to the appendix. So the recommendations of the report request the Shadow Executive Committee to endorse to proceed with a new contract on a 2+1+1 G-Cloud framework with OLM, who are the supplier, to proceed with the change control procedures with the Children's Trust to manage the impact of the changes and to advise the Shadow Executive of the impacts of the capital programme and ongoing revenue impacts. And I think the report we have before us does that well. So I'm happy to propose that we accept the report, Chairman.
Anna.
I don't think there's anything to add. I think Councillor Golby has very eloquently summarised the issue. I think probably just the one thing I would add is clearly this move to make the extra investment really to split the systems really does future-proof us, for the future in terms of making sure North and West adults have separate systems to work from and children's, and avoids some of the issues that we might otherwise had if we later wanted to separate the records. So very supportive of this and the need to do it. So thank you, Chair.
Any comments? I think the report lays everything out quite clearly. So I'll move the recommendations. Are we in favour? Any against? That is carried. Thank you. So item 10, the Constitution. Phil, are you going to introduce this? Or are we going to leave it to Catherine? Oh, Adam. Apologies, Adam.
I was going to say, Chair, it's Adam.
I'm getting confused. Adam.
That's okay, Chairman. Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to extend my thanks to my colleagues on the Task and Finish group, amongst whom is Councillor Larratt, as well as Councillors Beardsworth, Manners and Michael Clark, all of whom have worked extremely hard over the past 6 or 7 months to help get this constitution over the line. We've had a dozen meetings, I believe, over those 6 or 7 months. And also, I'd also like to pass on my overwhelming gratitude to Catherine Whitehead, to Andrew Hunkin, Paul and Alex from Democratic Services, and also to Susan Zeiss, our previous monitoring officer, who helped get the ball rolling. The officers really have worked tirelessly on this, especially over the past 2 or 3 months, when an awful lot of work had to be concentrated into a relatively short period of time. The Constitution is a complex document that has legal parameters that need to be complied with. There are standards that need to be met. But overall, the purpose of the Task and Finish group was to set the parameters around which the Constitution was crafted. And we approached it with a priority to bear in mind the public interest, to ensure transparency in the new council's decision-making, to ensure that decision makers could be held to account, and that the public would be able to have clarity around how they can hold councillors and key decision makers to account when those important decisions are made. I think it's realistic to say that a constitution, for members at least, can often be a controversial document. Everyone will have their own ideas and preferences about what certain aspects should look like. But with that in mind, I was incredibly impressed with the spirit into which opposition members entered into crafting the Constitution, as well as our own Conservative colleagues. Councillor Beardsworth was a huge help throughout the process. Members of the Overview and Scrutiny panel also helped us greatly with our crafting of the Constitution, particularly when it came to putting together the proposed scrutiny arrangements. And I myself went before scrutiny at least once, if not twice. Our officers also went to scrutiny one final time at the end of January to gain views from a wider number of members beyond our own task and finish group. I'm particularly proud of the way that we have sought to provide clarity to the public in how the council operates, that we've aimed to provide as much public participation in our meetings as possible through the Constitution, and that we've provided a clear commitment to the principle of scrutiny by proposing 3 overview and scrutiny panels for separate service areas, so that as many members as possible can play an active role in scrutinising the key decisions of West Northamptonshire Council. I think that's probably all about I have to say on the question of the Constitution. But if Kath or Andrew have other areas to highlight, I'm sure they'll do so. But yeah, thank you once again to my colleagues who've helped me in this endeavour. And I think we have a Constitution that, although it will be crafted and fine-tuned as the years progress within West Northamptonshire, I think it's a fantastic starting point and one that we should be proud of.
Yeah. Thank you, Adam, and thank you too to all of the workers. I know you've had to meet many times, and actually, very remiss of me, I should have said at the beginning of the meeting in leaders' announcements, congratulations, Adam, on the birth of your, I think it's your first child. So that happened a couple of 3 weeks ago now. So I do hope you're settling into the new normal. And on behalf of us all, I know we've all said it privately, but quite useful to point out that he's had a pass, he's had a night off.
Thank you.
Andrew or Catherine, do you wish to add anything on this before I throw it open?
Well, the only thing I would add is that the Constitution also contains the interim arrangements, the arrangements between April and the election, and those arrangements obviously will fall away after the election. And also to say that there are a couple of elements, one of which is on the agenda later tonight, that aren't contained yet within the Constitution in terms of things like the joint arrangements for shared services, and also that some of the detailed Children's Trust negotiations, which are still underway. So we will be bringing back a report in March to finalise those additional parts of the Constitution.
Thank you. I don't see Andrew indicating. No, he's happy.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I am happy. I think Catherine's covered it from an officer point of view. So.
Okay, colleagues. Anybody got anything to say on the Constitution? Oh, it's usually an opportunity for a 3-hour debate. Phil, I knew you couldn't resist it.
Thank you, Chair. Thank Adam for his thanks, and can I also thank Adam for the way in which he's chaired this working group, because it's been a very convivial group. We've all worked well together, continuing the work that carried on in drafting the Constitution for this shadow authority. And I think we've come up with a document that certainly brings in the best of what already existed in both the Constitution of this shadow authority and the existing authorities. I think we've levelled up to give the best processes and procedures that we possibly can from what already exists. So I think we've got something that is really good starting point. But we mustn't forget, Chair, that this is a living document. It is kept under review on a regular basis. And I think, going forward, yes, there will have to be changes. But I think this is an excellent starting point. And in thanking everybody else, thanks to Adam as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Yeah, I certainly agree with that point, that whilst the Constitution can be dry, it doesn't need to be dusty. It needs to be always kept under constant review, and we tweak it if we see that bits of it aren't working out as intended, and let's not pretend that it can't, it's set in tablets of stone. We need to have that flexibility as we move forward, and probably after a few meetings, check that things are working, that we've got the balances right between allowing everyone the opportunity to speak and allowing the council to get on with its business. So yeah, hopefully we can always make sure that it is a living document, as you put it. That's a good way of putting it. That it's not just something that's going to be looked at again in 10 years' time. I don't see anybody else indicating to speak. So the recommendation from the Shadow Executive is that members are requested to approve the draft constitution in relation to those elements which are the responsibility of the Executive, and to note that the constitution will be referred to the Shadow Authority meeting on the 23rd of February. So there's bits of that that reflect what we do as a Shadow Authority, what we do as the Shadow Executive, and what the executive side of the council will be doing, which are for the executive to decide on. And there are other bits which will be for the full authority meeting to decide on. And when the two come together, we'll have a complete document for the whole of the council. So we're only being asked to approve the bits that refer to the executive side. Isn't that right, Catherine? And then note that we're going to ask everybody else to approve the other bits that are outside of the remit of the executive. So with that clarity as best I can put it, are we all in favour? Any against? Okay, so we have half a constitution. We'll have the other half at the end of the month. So I shall move on to delegation of responsibility to the head of PED service for employment matters. Who's picking this one up? My crib sheet always mentions officers and not my member colleagues. Martin Cox?
I'm happy to pick it up, Chair. Thank you.
It sounds way too legal for any member to want to actually tiptoe into this area, which is always just a minefield.
Well, obviously, I'm not bringing a minefield to you this evening. So, evening, everyone. Just a few words to introduce the policy, which is asking for a pretty usual delegation to Anna Earnshaw, our head of paid service and chief exec. Just an update of the work over the last year. Members will hopefully remember, because it is quite an important area, our employment policies. We agreed as part of the corporate programme that we would develop a suite of policies that were modern, that were progressive, that would pick out the best bits of our current council's operations, but also work on best practice. And a lot of our colleagues, managers, HR colleagues have been doing that. We've been doing that absolutely in partnership with our trade unions. And we are now obviously getting to the business end as we approach our new council. And are looking to put in place these policies or effectively choose policies that enable us to manage our employees in a positive and proactive way. We've been doing this as consultation. Obviously, employment policies and in terms of how you manage employees is done through consultation with our trade unions. And also over the last 3 months, we've been conducting some quite intense negotiations with trade unions led by Anna that are now coming to fruition, which I know she updates our executive on a regular basis. So the purpose of this is hopefully quite simple. It's asking for a delegation to the chief executive, head of paid service, to now start agreeing these with our trade unions after consultation negotiation. This is a normal practice for an organisation of our size, although I would say we are unique. Not many organisations get the opportunity to have a whole suite of new employment policies and terms and conditions. It does bring with it its own sort of challenges in terms of complexity. But so far, I can't see any wood at the moment, but the work so far has been positive. So that's what I'm asking, what we're asking the members this evening to consider is that delegation, which is, as I say, normal practice. Some other organisations do things in different ways, but considering the size of our task and the ownership and leadership from Anna, that's the delegation in front of you this evening. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Martin. Anyone wish to speak on it? The report is pretty clear on what it's asking for, but no comments. So I will move that we recommend to the shadow executives that delegate responsibility to the head of PED service in consultation with the relevant portfolio holder to negotiate pay and terms and conditions for the new council with the recognised trade unions. To delegate responsibility to the head of PED service in consultation with the relevant portfolio holder for HR employment policies as listed in Appendix 1 to the head of PED service, with the exception of the pay policy statement under Section 38 of the Localism Act, which must be approved by full council. And C, that the final terms and conditions package along with the financial considerations are recommended for approval by the shadow executive in late March 2021, excluding those relating to chief officers. Are we all agreed? Any against? That is carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
So we now move on to item 12, shared service arrangements. Catherine, do you want to set the ball rolling, or?
Yes, thank you, Chair. The Shadow Executive has previously agreed in September last year the arrangements for the delivery of the upper tier services under new unitaries. These include a number of shared delivery arrangements, some of which are short-term hosted arrangements and others which are longer-term lead authority arrangements. The report sets out the legal governance to give effect to those decisions, which includes a joint committee, an overarching decision-making body, which will be supported by an officer group and individual officer delegations, which will enable the delivery of services. The governance will be supported by an agreement between the two councils, which will set out terms of the arrangements for service delivery, and the agreement will be supported by detailed service schedules. As you heard earlier in the meeting, we are underway in relation to the preparation of those schedules, and will present the agreement to the next meeting of the executive, together with as many of those schedules as are available. This will provide the ongoing governance of the management of joint services moving forward. There are a number of detailed recommendations set out in A2E, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. So that we are agreeing the direction of travel here, and then the detail will be coming later. Any questions? Any comments? I don't see any being raised. There are a lot of recommendations on mine. Can you just check, Catherine? 2.1D refers to Appendix A all the time. Is it Appendix A for each of those? To provide the services as set out in Appendix A, provide the services as set out in Appendix A.
Yeah, so Appendix A is a list of all the services, and some of them say hosted and some of them say hosted by North Northants, and some say hosted by West Northants, and some say lead authority North Northants, and some say lead authority West Northants.
Okay. So the recommendations of 2.1 to agree to share the services described as either hosted or lead authority in the blueprint and Appendix A, and establish an executive joint committee with the governance as set out in Appendix C. Item C, to note the reservation of delegated powers to the Chief Executive and Directors. Item D, to agree the heads of terms with North Northants Council for the delivery of these services in Appendix B, and then to agree to provide the services that are hosted lead authority and receive those services as either hosted or lead authority as well, as set out in small letters 1 to 4. And item E, to establish a joint officer board to support the joint committee in accordance as set out in Appendix D. Are we all agreed? Any against? And we revisit all of this next month. So we move on to item 13, the ICANN system. Matt.
Thank you, Chair. So I've got some notes for this one as well. But before I introduce the report, I just want to make a plug for the member session we've got on Monday at 2 p.m, which is titled Adult Services, the Essentials. So it'd be great to get as many members there as possible. And, it'll be an excellent introduction to the whole of the service. I've already been through with Stuart what's going to be included in the presentation, and it looks really good, and it'll be a good refresher if you're already familiar with some of the services, but if you're unfamiliar, it'll be a real good overview. So it'd be great if everybody could could log on to that. So ICAN, so to me, this is where the exciting work begins with adults. So ICAN stands for Integrated Care Across Northamptonshire. So today we're seeking permission from the Executive Committee of the Western Downs Council to procure a system transformation partner on behalf of local health partners. This procurement will identify a suitably equipped partner who will be funded to take forward the ICAN programme and deliver the associated financial savings and the improved outcomes for local people. So there are considerable challenges facing our healthcare system, including too many people being admitted to our hospitals, an inability to manage surges in demand, pressured winters alongside significant financial pressures that we've all been familiar with. So longer term, these issues are likely to get worse as the whole of the county is set to see significant growth in its population, especially in the over 65s, and our GPs and hospitals face workforce and capacity shortages that mean we cannot manage and demand effectively if we don't change. So nationally, there was also recognition of the need to change and to work as system areas to achieve better outcomes and use the shared funding more effectively to improve care and well-being. And we saw the commitment from government only yesterday that social care will be reformed, and many will say that it's been a very long time coming. And to that end, all areas must now form an integrated care system, which is also called an ICS, as a legal requirement from the 1st of April in 2021. So an integrated care system, NHS organisations in partnership with local councils and others take collective responsibility for managing resources, delivering NHS care and improving the health and care of the population they serve. Crucially, they must work in a joined up way with a shared system budget, which really isn't rocket science, I have to say. Significant activity took place in 2019 and 2020 to develop an integrated transformation plan for health and care as a part of the work to establish the Northampton integrated care system. And the Northamptonshire plan, as Anna explained to some of us the other day, was singled out by government to recognise it as exactly what is required. So integrated care systems enable organisations to work more closely together and coordinate services to make real practical improvements to people's lives. For staff, improved collaboration can help to make it easier to work with colleagues from other organisations, and systems can better understand data about local people's health, allowing them to provide care that is tailored to individual needs. A central priority of the local ICS will be how we improve services and outcomes around frail and elderly care. And last year, we worked with our health partners to shape the ICAN programme. The ICAN programme has been designed, the ICAN programme has been designed to complement and enhance the Council's adult social care target operating model, known as the TOM, and will continue to establish consistent and effective ways of working across adult social care and health. This will make it simpler for patients and providers to navigate care and access support. Health partners are in the process of ratifying an investment of between 2 million and 6 million to fund a system transformation partner that could support the system to realise annual savings of between 16 to 21 million in what is expected to be an 18-month programme. Having identified the required investment, health partners have approached West Northamptonshire Council to host the procurement of a suitably skilled and experienced system transformation partner for the ICAN programme. This would in effect involve health partners providing the council with the required funding to enable the council to procure the system partner. There are several benefits for the authority acting as the host, including securing influence, reclaiming VAT, aligning the adults transformation programme to the ICAN programme to achieve better joint outcomes, and also to get this thing going before the pressures of the 2021-22 winter are upon us. So subject to health partners providing confirmation of funding and approval of their business case informed by market engagement and a mini competition, it is expected that the programme would start before summer 2021. It is proposed that a compliant two-stage procurement process is initiated through the Crown Commercial Framework to seek interest from appropriate skilled and experienced organisations. So colleagues, the period we are entering, albeit challenging, will be a very exciting period for how we look to deliver better care to our residents, and I'm very happy to recommend this report to the executive colleagues this evening. And I also have to say that if you get a chance, have a look at the embedded document that came at the back of the pack, which explains the ICANN whole concept and idea a lot better, because it's a really good detailed document that I thoroughly recommend. So, Chair, I'm very pleased to recommend the report to the executive. Thank you. I know that was a bit long.
No, it was a really good scene setting. Thank you, Matt. Anybody got anything to add? Wish to say something? I certainly think earlier this week, CCN launched a report, County Council Network, on this whole area of healthcare. And it sounded to me like some of the ideas that they were putting forward were some of the ideas that we're now trialing and doing it. And I also think, as you said yourself, Matt, about the government now mandating integrated healthcare approach, this approach that we've been pioneering. And I think all credit has to go to Anna here when she was the head of adult social services. We've been pioneering some of these ideas, and they're now being accepted as national best practice. So I think we just need to build on that and keep the momentum going. I was certainly struck at item 1.1 in the report that talked about the numbers of 6,600 people could avoid attending an emergency department every year. 36,500 people could have less delay in their hospital stay. And the other thing, which I just thought was a very interesting statistic, right now 250 people are in hospital that could be at home. And apart from the costs of that, everyone will do better in their own home than being in a hospital. So there's massive opportunities with this type of approach, for both a financial opportunity, but also just in health and well-being, to improve the way in which the whole system works and getting us all working better. So I certainly think it's worth moving things through. Anna, do you want to add anything else in terms of its technical workings?
Yeah, I think the thing is about this is, as the report says, our health colleagues currently are very heavily engaged, as we all know, in the vaccination programme. So in hosting this for them, it's just kind of a really good sign and way of doing some partnership working, because obviously then we can crack on with that and then together select a partner. And as you said, Adults has already implemented a lot of the recommendations and ways of working that came out in the CNN report. The bit that was missing for us is health doing the other side of the transformation. And this brings it together. So, Stuart, Katie, the team have been working really closely with health partners about how we then change the way they work. So we're working the same way across the system to keep people in their own homes. So it's a really exciting thing. And I can't emphasize enough how important it is we get it moving finally, and especially, dare I say it, because we're already thinking about winter 21, even though we don't feel like we've left this current winter. So really, really vital to our success going forward across the piece. So yeah, really welcome it. So it's a great piece of work.
And Stuart, do you want to say anything?
Just really briefly, Chair, and just to echo what Councillor Golby said. So the government yesterday published Working Together to Improve Health and Social Care for All. And when you look at this intervention, it will considerably take us forward locally in joining up health and social care services. So it'll be really positive. Thank you.
Thank you. Don't see anybody else indicating to speak. So the recommendation is recommended that the shadow executive, and this first few words are probably the most important, subject to confirmed funding in full from health, approve delegated authority to the executive director for adults, communities and wellbeing in consultation with the cabinet member to procure and appoint a system transformation partner on behalf of health and care system for the delivery of the integrated care in Northampton ICANN. Are we in favour? Any against? That is carried. Thank you. So moving on to item 14, task and vision reports, vision and values. As I chaired this one, I'm going to ask Anna to introduce it, just so you don't have to listen to me for any longer than is necessary. Anna.
Thank you, Chair. I'm really pleased to present this report on the outcome of the work of the Task and Finish group on the vision and values for our new council. We are seeking a decision tonight on the final vision statement that we adopt as our new council in West Northants. And we've made some recommendations, firstly to acknowledge and thank all the people who provided feedback. And the Appendix B to the report gives some real detail about the comments made by 8 different groups who got involved in looking at suggested vision statements that members created across a cross-party group, and also on the potential vision statements that we could make. As I said, what we're proposing is a couple of initial ideas. There are two potential vision statements that we'd like the exec to make a decision on. The first one being West Northants, a great place to live, work, visit and thrive, as set out in Appendix A. Or alternatively, West Northants Council, making a difference every day. Both were felt to capture very much both what members thought and what the stakeholder groups thought in terms of what was important and the ambition that we would like to see in West Northants going forward. And these ideas were reinforced by all of our conversations with them. You'll also notice that Thrive was something that came up consistently in the group as something that was really important, important in terms of our residents, our businesses, as an area for staff, for employment, for skills. And that was something that was very much adopted as the word that everybody felt summarised what we should be aiming for. And as you'll see in the Appendix A, we also picked that up then as a potential acronym that we could then build a values charter on. And in the appendix, you'll see at the very end, there is a suggested charter that sets out kind of the ways we will behave, what you could expect of us as a partner, what you could expect of us as employees and managers and leaders within the new council. So a really important thing that we would like to see embedded in staff appraisals and our culture going forward and in everything we do as a commitment. So I think a very, very vital piece of work. But overall, what we're looking for now from members, as I said, is a decision on which of the 2 vision statements members would prefer to adopt so that we can start using it, and also to approve that values charter as the charter we adopt that sets out, as I said, the culture that we want and how we want to be perceived. I'll happily take any questions. Hopefully it's very self-explanatory. I can't emphasise as Chief Exec how important this is, and we're really, really keen to get this out to staff, to partners, and to show what we're all about, what we're aiming for, and what they can expect of us. Thank you, Chair.
Adam?
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I think it's fair to say that vision statements are probably not my cup of tea necessarily, but it's important that they're there to guide an organisation, especially at a managerial level. But I would like to pay particular praise to the work that's gone into the Values and Behaviours Charter. I think that captures very succinctly and in a really powerful way the values and the behaviours that we're trying to instill in this new organisation, and it captures the mission that we're all on to try and improve the lives of residents across West Northamptonshire. My personal preference in terms of the vision statement would be number 2, but I'm certainly not going to fall out with anyone about such a thing. But if we do go for number 2, may I just suggest on a point of pedantry, Mr. Chairman, that there's a space between every and day.
Thank you. Jonathan?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. It's been a pleasure for me to be involved in this Task and Finish group. I think it's so very, very important. And I think that the focus that we've given it by having a Task and Finish group recognises how important we consider vision and culture to be. And of course, we're going through an unsettling time where we bring together a new organisation. And it's really important that people feel good about the organisation they work in. And I think that translates, not only do you retain staff better, but you find that residents are served by people who are engaged, keen to be at work, and feel a sense of involvement in where that service is going and being taken. So to some extent, the work starts here rather than finishes here. It's how we then, embed this into the way people feel about the council and about working in it and so on. of following on from Adam, I'll have my vote and say that I have a bit more of a preference for the first, actually. And the reason for that is I think it's a little clearer in what it's actually setting out. Rather than making a difference, you then interpret what a difference is. In actual fact, I think we're giving a clearer, bolder statement which encompasses everything. And the word thrive, not my suggestion initially, but I think it was a fantastic suggestion, because it just says that whatever you do in West Northants, whether you're a business, whether you're somebody at school or whoever you are, thrive means you are achieving great success in your own particular area. And I just think that's a great mission for us to set out on. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Jonathan. Richard?
Thank you. And I'm not going to reiterate what the first two speakers have said, although we had one for voting for one and one for voting for the other strapline. So I suppose it's that.
I'm relying on you to split the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. but it's on a more fundamental point. You know, a lot of work has gone into drafting this, and these are aspirations. And they will only be aspirations until we all internalise them, from the very top to the very bottom. And I think we, as political and as officer leaders, we've got to look at ourselves and making sure that we're living, eating and breathing those values. Because as soon as they see fault in us, they're not going to comply, and we're never going to touch this culture. So I am very optimistic. It's incumbent upon us all, though, to making sure that we internalise them rather than expect others to. And as we do, this West Northamptonshire Council is going to turn into be one of the best ones in the country, in my opinion. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other comments on whether you prefer 1 to 2, please? Oh, we can have either then. Rebecca?
Absolutely endorse, particularly Richard's statement about it's got to become embedded in us as members in the organisation. I do think that Vision 1 is clearer. I think it makes it very plain what our positive ambition is in the breadth of what the council have to offer. And you know, if we're doing things well, it'll just become part of our lives. So and we will make a difference every day by following the first vision statement. So I think I'll put my finger up and say that I'd support the first one.
Great place to live, work, visit and thrive. Richard?
Sorry, I was going to resist it to come in with an opinion, but I think the second one sounds a bit like Tesco's, to be honest. And I love the first one. So so I'm not trying to skew anything, but number one for me.
Okay, we're leaning towards 1. That's useful. Lizzie?
Yeah, I'm definitely number 1.
Thank you. I'm heading for a
And
majority.
for me too, Chair. And for me too.
All right, well, that'll make it easy.
Yeah, and me in.
All right. I think we're all coalescing around 1, and Adam was in the flip a coin category. Right. So as I said earlier, I did chair this, but I do wish to place on record my thanks to the other members of that panel, which was Jonathan, who's spoken, Danielle, Chris Lofts and Cecile. So this is not just a administration or a conservative vision of what the new council should be. It is bought in by all parties. And more importantly, look at the list of the stakeholders that we went out to speak to as well. We've got trade unions, we've got young people, we've got the voluntary sector, we've got all manner of people who are key audiences, all asking their views, and they've been incorporated. And a huge amount of similarity that ran right through that you know, everybody wants the same outcomes and wishes this new council well. And can I also put on record my thanks to, we were very ably assisted by a slew of officers who came in and did various things and turned our ramblings into some sort of English, but particularly to Martin Cox and Marie Devlin Hogg. I think they attended every meeting and served us very well. So please do, Marie's not on the call, but please do pass on my thanks to Marie and Martin. I don't think we'd have got there. You managed to turn some of our when we took the odd left at the lights and went off on a flight of fancy. It was quickly brought back to that to what it should be. And George as well, I see, is nodding. George, I didn't mean to exclude you. You also are another one of those that were holding it to saying, you know, it needs to be right from when you were the interim chief. So thank you for that. So I think the easiest way of doing this is to propose number 1. If we vote in favour, then propose number 2. If people don't particularly want that, don't vote for it, and then we'll be pretty clear to help committee services know what our clear decision is. So the vision and culture statement, we recommend acknowledge with thanks the feedback from the community, customer members and of staff, to select the vision statement, which we'll come to, and approve the vision. So in terms of selecting the vision statement, I'm going to be bold here. I'm just going to propose that the Shadow Executive select vision statement option 1, West Northamptonshire Council, a great place to live, work, visit and thrive. Are we in favour of option 1? Any against? Any votes for option 2? No. So that is carried on option 1. So now,
Chair, can I?
Yes, Richard.
I don't know whether we can, but would it be nice to let the full council decide, or is there some reason why we did particularly want to do that?
I'll refer that to Catherine. Is this a full council decision, or is it one that we have to take, whether we like it or not?
I don't think it's on the agenda for the full council, and it isn't a full council matter unless you decide to include it within the policy framework and change the constitution to reflect that. But you can do so if you wish to.
I can just imagine, well, a possible fallout if they could have had a choice and we didn't allow them. I'm not too sure how my colleagues feel, whether I'm being too sensitive or too cautious.
Adam?
Yeah, I think Richard's being very generous to colleagues outside of the executive, but to my mind, there were more important things to fall out about coming down the line, and I think it sets a curious precedent if we start altering the policy framework on matters of this level, when there are so many more things that one could probably argue for inclusion on the policy framework for with more justification. So I think we're on fairly safe ground making this decision as an executive, in my view.
Yeah, well, I think Catherine was saying you can if you want to, but it's too late.
No, it's not too late, Chair. The papers go out on Monday. I could amend the policy framework is set by full council, so you could amend it. You could recommend the inclusion of it in the constitution, and then I will include it, and the papers will go out on Monday with that amendment to the constitution if you want to. It's obviously that's up to you, and then we put it as an item on that agenda.
Matt?
I was just going to agree with Adam. It's nice to share things around a bit, but frankly, I think we're going to have important things to do. And this is a sort of debate you can see, a bit like the logo, that will go on for about 5 hours and never really get resolved. So I suggest that we crack on and make the decision now, with all respect to Richard.
We'll end up with a great place to make a difference. So are we?
Sorry, I'm comfortable with that. It's just something that came across my mind. I was just wondering, but I'm comfortable with
okay.
if that's the executive's will.
I see Malcolm indicating. Malcolm?
Yes, I would say if it were the other side of the election, I could see the argument that this side of the election is going to be different people there anyway. I think we've got to move on.
Yeah, good point. So I think we'll just carry on then and move. I'll move the recommendations now that we have. Item B will be to select option 1. So acknowledge with thanks again, all on the shadow executive, to the feedback from the community, customer members and staff as set out in the appendix A and B. We select that vision statement 1 West Northamptonshire Council a great place to live, work, visit and thrive, to be our vision statement, and approve the suggested values charter as set out in Appendix A to be developed to drive the new council and its culture. Are we agreed? Any against? That is carried. Thank you. And I think setting that culture is vitally important. We have a great opportunity now to drive a new culture with a new set of values and and a new purpose. So they come along very infrequently, and we do need to seize it and maximize the benefit for everyone. So item 16, operational and non-statutory policy delegation. Catherine.
Thank you, Chair. So the transitional regulations provide detailed provisions which enable continuity for the delivery of services. However, the vast majority of non-statutory policies which govern the delivery of services need to be put in place and do not transfer automatically. And to avoid these agendas of these meetings being significantly longer than they are, delegation is being sought to enable the Chief Executive, through the members of the leadership team and in consultation with the relevant portfolio holder, to agree these policies.
Any comments? So Catherine is proposing we delegate to them, or we have 6-hour meetings. Put like that.
When you put it like that, Ian,
well, I think that's what she's saying. But when we put it like that, we've done quite well, I think, tonight. We'll be done in an hour and a half. So any comments? I think it's just a very efficient way of making sure we get our business done. On a more serious point, that we do need to make sure that we have such a huge amount of things to get in place and delegating out, but there are the necessary political oversight by coming back through the relevant portfolio holder, the relevant cabinet member. So we're not just allowing the officers to do everything on our behalf. There will still be political oversight. So it's recommended that the shadow executive delegates to the chief executive, in consultation with the relevant portfolio holder, the authority to approve operational and non-statutory policies and procedures for the new council. Are we agreed? Any against? That is carried. So item 17, matters that stand referred from the shadow authority. There aren't any. Item 18, exempt items, we have none. And item 19, urgent items, none have been notified to me. So 27 minutes past 7, I shall close the meeting. Thank you all for your attendance. I hope we haven't eaten into too much of your weekend, but and we'll meet again for the full shadow authority meeting on the 23rd, and I'm sure we'll meet again at other meetings and working groups in the foreseeable future very soon, I'm sure. Thank you all.
Thank
you.
Night.
Bye-bye.